everybody, this is Katie, and I mentioned in a previous video that we had started solids with Alice at the 6-month mark, and we are about 6 weeks in now, and I wanted to give an update. So generally, just to recap a little bit the sort of method we've been using, we planned a very slow introduction, which has turned out to be great because Alice has also been wanting to take it slow, so things have been perfect. We decided to start at 6 months because she was really showing lots of signs of readiness. She had a lot of interest in food, to the point that, like, when we would be eating dinner, she would be like smacking her lips, and she really seemed to know like what was going on. And we did wait till the 6-month mark just because that was sort of the original plan, and I do believe that breastfeeding supplies just about every nutrient that baby needs, and that your milk changes over time and stuff, and I think possibly with the exception of iron, she's still getting everything she needs from breastfeeding. So we have decided to do sort of a self-feeding, sometimes called baby-led weaning method, where Alice is the one to put foods into her mouth and learn to chew and learn to, get the coordination to get food there, and really not using purees. Pretty much, it's just what feels right to us and what makes sense to me, just in terms of biology. I feel like the ability to eat foods with your mouth coincide with your gut's ability to digest them and your body's need for them and stuff. So I have a feeling that nature has worked things out that way, and I have a tendency to trust that kind of stuff. So that's been our plan. I'm not trying to get Alice to eat more, to reduce the amount she's breastfeeding, anything along those lines. This is just sort of in addition. There's a slogan, any food before 1 is just for fun. I am planning to breastfeed definitely at least to a year, and so this is just this is something extra. This is for Alice to learn and explore and enjoy. That said, where we differ from the traditional baby-led weaning sort of program is that we are taking some allergy precautions. Not many, because we don't have a history of any food allergies in our family. I have a dairy intolerance, so we are planning to wait a full year before introducing any dairy, and we're still a little bit undecided on things like nuts, egg whites, other sort of allergenic foods, because like I said, we don't have that history, so we're just going to see how it goes. For now, we are holding off on those sort of like very allergenic things, soy, other things that people generally delay to around a year. We are spacing out new foods by about 3 to 4 days, so we'll introduce something and then give it a few days to see if there's any sort of reaction. Also, I will tell you, we are primarily using a different book besides the baby-led weaning book to inform some of our decisions, and this is one called Baby Bites, and the author is Bridget Swinney. A friend of mine actually knows this author. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But we have also differed from baby-led weaning a little bit because of sort of Mike's comfort level. But generally, Alice is doing self-feeding. So her first food at 6 months was avocado. And if you cut foods in spears and leave the peels on them, they're easier for babies to hold. She did really well, getting to eat that the first time we gave it to her. People have said that avocados are nutritionally the closest thing to breast milk in terms of the amount of fats and just like the whole nutrient profile. So far, that has been the one thing that Alice has had some sort of reaction to. Nothing serious, but a couple days after the first time she had avocado, she got a rash just on her stomach, pretty much just on her stomach. Which could have been related to, I had also switched detergents around that time, so that could have been it. Could have been something environmental, could have just been dryness, I'm not sure. But in any case, we have held off on avocados since then. we'll probably try again in a little bit of time. After that, we tried yams, and again, the first time we gave them to her, Alice, you know, got them to her mouth really well. She just didn't seem to really like them, and subsequent times that we offered them to her, she didn't want them. Actually, the third food, this is going to sound a little bit crazy, but this book, the Baby Bites book, recommends as possibly one of the best foods for an exclusively breastfed baby is actually meat, because really the only mineral that you're concerned about the baby possibly not having enough from breastfeeding at this point, after the 6-month mark, is iron. So meat can provide that. At this point, we are raising Alice as sort of an omnivore, so we're trying meat with her, and she so far really seems to like it. The very first thing that she had was actually elk. My sister came to visit. A friend had given her some elk that he had hunted, so it was like, you know, pretty much as free range, wild caught as you can get. We ate this elk steak that was delicious, and gave some to Alice, and she just sort of sucked on the pieces, but, you know, she liked it. Her fourth food was broccoli, which she loves. It is absolutely her favorite food. I may include some footage of her eating this stuff. She absolutely loves it. I was a little bit concerned about giving her broccoli because it's one of the gassier vegetables, but so far she has shown no problems that way. She eats it every day. Also, egg yolk she really likes. It's really mildly flavored. It has a lot of iron, protein, and she likes it. Same with chicken, a few other things she's had, banana, steel-cut oats, salmon, green beans, cran apple sauce, which is actually sauce that I canned last year, and then puffed rice, like this kind. Not Rice Krispies per se, but I don't know if you can see that. This sort of, it's brown rice that has absolutely nothing added to it, you know, no salt, sugar, and she really likes those too. A question that a lot of people have is about teeth. Alice does have 5 teeth, almost 6 at this point, but when we started she only had the 2 bottom, and babies really don't need the teeth that much to be able to, you know, mash things up and just be able to handle finger foods. So there are just a few things that Alice does not yet have like the dexterity to pick up on her own, the puffed rice being one of them. She's trying a lot. You know, we try every day, and occasionally she'll be able to pick up a single grain and get it to her mouth. She drops a lot, but that's okay. It's a learning process. But what she does like is if I pick them up and just sort of hold it, you know, towards her, she'll grab my hand and take it into her mouth that way. So she's really like making the choice to eat. All right, I mentioned that we had avoided purees with one exception, and that is Mike, while I'm at work, is here with Alice. She has never taken a bottle, so that's been a challenge because she does get hungry during the 3.5 to 4 hours that I'm at work twice a week. And so he has always offered her bottles and sippy cups with pumped milk. She really seems to have a strong opinion about that. She does not like breast milk, anything but sort of straight from the source. We have done sort of this type of cereal, oatmeal and rice baby cereal like that, because that's something Mike feels comfortable with when he's here home alone. But we really haven't had much success. Alice does not seem to, she sort of fights the spoon. Anything, even a food that she likes, if you put it on a spoon and bring it towards her, she closes up, you know, she like leans away and gives you all the body language saying that she doesn't want it. She really does sort of want to get there on her own time and be the one in control. So, like I said, Mike has attempted the cereal, and if, you know, with enough distraction, he can get a spoonful into her mouth. But generally, that's not what we're doing. That's not what works for Alice. So, I think now that she's really getting like more enthusiastic and doing a lot better with actually ingesting a lot of the stuff that she's trying to eat, we're just going to phase out those cereals altogether. She just doesn't like pumped milk, and she doesn't like the spoon. We have tried putting food on a spoon and giving it to her, but she generally will just like play with it or, you know, hit it around. She doesn't get that. She hasn't figured out the sort of like spoon to mouth thing for herself yet. but we'll get there. So I think that's all I can say right now. It's just every day is different, every day is a learning process, and we're just working with Alice and doing what sort of works for our family. We just feed her when we're eating, so just regular meal times, and just offer her something. If she wants it, that's great. If she doesn't, it's no problem. I'm really big on not wasting food, so sometimes it is hard for me when she doesn't want something and then I know we're gonna just have to throw it out. But you know, we just use such small amounts that I guess I just need to let that go a little bit. But definitely at almost 7.5 months now, Alice is really starting to enjoy being at the table with us. She gets really proud of herself when she, you know, gets something to her mouth and chews it up and swallows it. And we haven't had, I know people are going to ask about choking. We've not had any really choking incidents. There have been times that Alice has gagged on something if there was too big of a piece, but I feel like that's a protective reflex. It just moves that you know, piece of food away from her throat, so she has a chance to spit it out or you know, chew it into smaller pieces before she tries to swallow again. So we are careful to always have her, you know, sitting upright, solidly in the high chair and sort of be in the right position to minimize any choking. Of course, I'm not going to give her like whole grapes or, you know, something that causes problems for kids, but I think generally babies do have a pretty good ability to sort of protect themselves that way. I know this is something people have really strong opinions about. I'm probably going to get some criticism. I hope to get some questions and just have a constructive conversation, especially from other people who may be curious about, you know, starting off with this type of, with self-feeding and our experience so far. So just going to share what I know. I really try to be respectful of people's parenting choices, so I hope that I get that in return, and I'll keep you posted as time goes on. Thanks for watching.